All right. Hey, everyone. That music always kind of gets me like bebopping just a little bit. Uh, I'm gonna start with the interview that I had earlier today with Corey DeAngelis as we kick off school choice week. But we had a great conversation and we mentioned two very important states, Mississippi and Washington State. And we started to talk about some of the great things that are going on there and then some of the challenges. And I thought, you know what? I need to bring in some leaders of Moms for Liberty from those states and ask them a few questions. And, I could just talk about the state that I don't live in, or I should bring in the real experts, the grassroots, boots on the ground. And so that's exactly what I've been doing. So we're going to first air this great interview that I had just a few hours ago with Corey DeAngelis. And then while this is airing, I'm going to work on downloading and putting up the two interviews that I literally just finished doing with some moms on the go regarding what's happening in Mississippi and Washington State. And I think it's really cool and really interesting. So, without further ado, let's start with the interview with Corey. Um, and as he famously says, we need to get our kids out of these failure factories that are increasingly public education. There's still some good schools, and there are definitely tens of thousands of very good teachers, administrators, principals, people that really care. I don't want to diminish them, their work, what they do. I don't care if they disagree with me ideologically. I care that they view what they're doing as a craft and a calling, and that they are there to teach kids to read, to write, math, science, all the things, and of course arts, everything. So it's hard work what they do, and I appreciate it. But there are those that think teaching is political. They said so at the NEA conference. They say it all the time now. And as they are leading our children out of their classrooms into protest against ICE federal agents, as they lead them as elected Democrats in office, lead our children out the doors, carrying bullhorns, repeating slogans, telling them if they see an ICE agent to fight, 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 fight back, telling them to fight, fight, fight back. Yes, they're telling teenagers to fight back against armed federal agents as they are pursuing criminals. That I think is pretty criminal. And then telling teenagers to call representatives, to show up at the state house, to participate in political rallies. Um, that is not the place, that is not the job of our schools. That's not what they're there to do. They're not there to turn our kids into foot soldiers for the Marxist woke army. And we need to stand up and make sure that those few in educators, those few administrators, that they they frankly are not allowed to do this anymore, and they're not allowed to bully and shame every student who's not involved, or every teacher, principal, or administrator that won't go along with their woke crazy nonsense. So that's how we're going to start off. So see, truth bombs. This fiery one. So no, like this is a special edition. Again, school choice week. You'll hear why I am such a big proponent of school choice. I was one of those kids that would have had to languish in a absolutely terrible public school system in the city of Milwaukee. I would have had very little to no chance of escaping poverty and going to college and eventually going on further, my education, all of that would not have been possible were it not for the fact that in sixth grade, a local Catholic church provided my family, um, basically charity, a scholarship through which myself and my siblings were able to attend a Catholic private school. And that led the way to all of us escaping a life of poverty where we could have been a statistic. Education is a ladder, not chaos, not activism, not becoming a Marxist. Education, a good quality education, that is the true ladder that can lead to American children to breaking cycles of poverty. And I was born into near sheer poverty, and my dad was working class and did everything that he could, and my mom. Um, and So I'm very grateful for them and all that they did. But without an education, without that opportunity, I don't know what would have happened to me. And I think that there are millions of American children that don't have the opportunity to escape the classroom and the school district and the lifestyle. And that's where good teachers, good schools, and opportunities are so important. You can't save everybody, but you can save some. And as I said with Corey, this when I first started to when in college, I was a political science major. Um, my law school, constitutional law, and even very young, I advocated for and I knew that education was key, that not affirmative action, not quotas, not DEI, it was going to be real opportunities. That was key to resolving some of the issues, and they were economic, they were class-based, and that's something I'd always advocated for and knew to be true, and it is still true today. And so I advocated for school choice based on the fact that I thought this was the best hope, the best chance, the best life raft that we could give those children that are born into poverty, or they're just their parents just will not have the money to send them to a private school, and they can't afford to buy a house and live in some of the suburban districts where the schools are better. I have had a change of heart over the last 6 years in particular, and I now see school choice as a universal phenomenon that every parent and every family should have the ability to choose, because it doesn't matter if you move to a really great suburb. It doesn't matter if you've invested a lot of your treasure and a lot of your time into a home where you thought you're in a school district that this is going to be great for my kids, because you can't outrun this kind of radical woke takeover in education. And so while in my school district we fought really hard, and I think it's a very good school district, I think that there are many school districts that are in the suburbs, or they are in areas that were once like the best schools, and they have deteriorated, and there are now a lot of suburban parents that are like, hey, I want out too. I want to have a choice. I don't want my kid indoctrinated. I would like my kid to go to a school where they have a gifted and talented program. I would like my kid to go to a school where they have a better special needs program, all of the above. So, more and more, I think that we need to get to the point where it's universal school choice. And that doesn't mean that we're going to eliminate public education. I think that public education is going to get better when faced with competition. And school, that could also mean that you just choose a different public school that's maybe not that far away. Maybe it's just an extra 10 minutes, an extra 15 minutes, but it's one that's better for your kid. Maybe there's a different school that has programs that are geared toward kids that are getting associate degrees and two-year programs, and you prefer that. So there's lots. School choice is doesn't just mean one thing anymore. And we also talk about the initiative that's part of the big beautiful bill that the Trump administration, the ability for a $1,700 tax credit for a single, and double that, $3,400 for a married couple, where that tax write-off, that donation, that can be made, and that money will go to help families. It's scholarship programs, so that whether they're homeschool, whether they're going to choose to go to a private school, or whether a family just needs some help with tutoring and other services, like, they will get what they need. There's a caveat, though. The governor has to opt in. And as of now, 20 governors have opted in, and they are part of this initiative that we're going to discuss. So I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to get to the conversation between Corey and I. And then I'm going to talk to my friends Lindsay Beckham from Mississippi and Sarah Garriott from Washington State. And you're going to get some updates from grassroots, boots on the ground, and they're pretty exciting. I had a lot of fun today, a lot of talking, losing my voice again, but I love talking. So, all right, without further ado, let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unleashed. I'm Scarlett Johnson, and of course, we're presented by Moms for Liberty. Today, I am with our friend Corey DeAngelis, who is the school choice guru. And so I asked, could you come on, because this starts School Choice Week. And there's some really good news that, Corey, I'd love for you to share with our listeners. There's a couple of really good points that we can celebrate. So welcome, Corey, and let's just jump right in.
Yeah, lots of great news. And, we've had National School Choice Week for a long time, but for the past few years, it's basically been National School Choice Week every single week that the legislature is in session, because people are passing bills left and right. Well, more so on the right. The Republican-led states are passing school choice. And lately, President Trump actually got into the big, beautiful bill, his proposed nationwide school choice program, which was originally called the Educational Choice for Children Act. And so the IRS and the Treasury recently announced that they're allowing governors to opt their states in now for this nationwide school choice program. It's a federal tax credit, so it's not federal government money that's following the student. It's private donations. Each individual can donate up to $1,700 per year and get a dollar-for-dollar tax credit on their taxes. So that would reduce your taxes going to the government by the exact same amount of $1,700. So it's an easy proposition for donors. I mean, you're either giving that money to the government, where they're going to waste it and flush it down the toilet. It'll go to fraudulent Somali daycares, or you can give that same $1,700 to a student in need to get a scholarship to go to a private school. So you're no worse off financially. There's going to be tons of donations flowing in. And what we found out this morning is that already 20 states have opted in to President Trump's nationwide school choice initiative, the latest one being Governor Kelly Armstrong out of North Dakota. There has been one Democrat that's crossed the aisle, joined the ranks. There it is, Colorado. If you haven't seen it already, it's colored red on this map, but the states in red have opted in to Trump's nationwide school choice program. Again, it's a federal tax credit. If you're filing jointly and you're married on your taxes, you don't just get to donate $1,700, you get to double that, $3,400. And then so the kick is here, the catch is that your state can only receive these scholarships and students can only use these scholarships in your state if you as the governor decide to opt in. So it creates this kind of weird incentive, kind of like the 21 drinking age. You know, every state chooses 21 because it's tied to federal highway funding. Well, for the school choice benefit, anybody can donate, whether you're in a state that opts in or not. I'm looking at you, Governor Gavin Newsom in California. He's probably going to be the last person to opt in if he does at all. But if he doesn't, people in Texas and North Dakota as of today, they'll benefit because those scholarship funds can flow into their state because they opted in. So it creates this incentive for even blue state governors to say, you know what, maybe I should, for once, cross the teachers unions, do the right thing so my state constituents don't lose out on all of this funding. We don't want money flowing out of our state to go into red states to our political opponents. So I think this at some point is going to have all 50 states. But these blue states are the governors who had knee-jerk reactions. New Mexico, yes, you're Scarlett, Wisconsin, and Hawaii. Tony Evers in Wisconsin, he's horrible, and said no.
Governor Evers. We always call him that.
And he's. I think they just have Trump derangement syndrome and didn't think through the technicalities of this program and thought school choice bad because teachers unions don't like it. They donate to our campaigns. We can't be on this. Oh, and by the way, it's in Trump's big, beautiful bill. We can't be for that. And you know what, Scarlett, I used to have Oregon colored in blue on that map until I've heard from a little birdie on the inside that even the Oregon governor might be reconsidering her decision. So I took Oregon off the map as a neutral state again. So that's the kind of quick news on the good news on the nationwide school choice program. And I will just say, Governor Polis, he might be running as the moderate Democrat in 2028. Maybe he's positioning himself to do that. Or maybe he sees that school choice isn't really a partisan issue after all. It's got super majority support among Republicans, Democrats, independents. You can make right-leaning competition arguments for school choice. You can make left-leaning equality of opportunity arguments for school choice. It really shouldn't be a partisan issue. The problem is the teachers unions donate all their political contributions to one party, the Democrats. So they basically, they don't just have control over the Democrat Party. They are the Democrat Party. Yeah. Randy Weingarten, she was a at-large member of the DNC. So is Becky Pringle, the head of the NEA. They're sitting at the same table with the Democrat Party. It's not, they're like, I used to say there's an incestuous relationship between the two organizations, but they're basically, it's worse than that. They're the same creature. They're the same thing. The Democrats and the teachers unions are one and the same. And Jared Polis, you got to give credit where credit's due. He's been bad on all the child, gender ideology stuff, but even he saw that this would be shooting himself in the foot if he didn't participate. He told the Colorado Sun that it was, quote, a no-brainer. And he said that he would be crazy not to. Why would he give away the money? So that's the first bit of news.
I have a question. So if your state now, okay, one thing about Wisconsin, we've got a governor's race this year. So there's a way to change this by voting Tony Evers. Well, he's not running, but whoever, there's a whole bunch of Democrats vying in a primary. They're not great candidates, but Tom Tiffany, he is probably one of the front runner in this gubernatorial race for Republicans. And he has vowed to support school choice. And even there's a couple other candidates. One, Josh Schulman, has also reiterated that they support school choice and they would opt in. So voting against the Democrat Party in Wisconsin in November would mean we could definitely flip this to red. But what other, in these other states, you've got Ohio, like there's some that really should, they should be opting in, right?
Yeah, so Congress put in a provision that is kind of a double-edged sword. Well, one, the original bill, it was all states they're just in. You don't have to opt in. But then the Senate parliamentarian who was appointed by a Democrat, which John Thune, I don't know why the Senate parliamentarian still has her job, but she unilaterally took out the school choice program from the reconciliation budget bill. Ted Cruz and some other freedom fighters were able to get it back in, but there was a catch. They had to put in this piece that states had the ability to opt in, but you don't need to pass both chambers and go to the governors for their signature. It's straight. It's solely in the hand of the governor. So that's good in states like, that have a Republican governor, like Nevada. Joe Lombardo opted in. He's a Republican, but their House and Senate are controlled by Democrats. So it's good in that case, but it's not so great in Wisconsin, where you have a Democrat governor and then you have Republicans controlling each chamber. But I think it's and it's not so good in Kentucky, where you have the Democrat Bashir with Republicans controlling both chambers.
Okay.
But there is a bill in Kentucky, for example, and there's one in Wisconsin, to be clear, in both of these states, sending bills from the Republican legislatures to the governors to try to force their hands. And hopefully in Kentucky, I know they can overcome the veto because they only need a majority to overcome the veto. That's easy.
Yeah.
In Wisconsin, I think you need a super majority.
Sure.
So it's a lot, that's a lot more difficult. You need some Democrats in each chamber to come on board. But that's great news. There's other states that, you look at the map and people are like, well, what's going on with Oklahoma? Governor Stitt has been a supporter of school choice. I think some of the states are just, some are slower than others, and some might have been waiting for this week. It's National School Choice Week. So North Dakota Governor Kelly Armstrong, people kept bugging him on social media, like, where are you at? You're a Republican. This is on the party platform. And, I actually tweeted at him this morning, and I had egg on my face because it turned out that he put out a press release like 30 minutes before I tweeted at him saying, "Oh, gotcha." And it's like, I'm happy to be wrong when the governors are doing the right thing after I call them out. So
yes.
I deleted the tweet and redid it and thanked him for supporting school choice. But yeah, there's other states on the list that are kind of interesting, like Ohio, like you pointed out. Florida is the biggest head scratcher, but I think they're working on it still. Secretary McMahon was quoted in the Daily Signal yesterday, and she said that she expects at least 25 states will participate. That makes sense to me because there's 26 Republican governors, plus we have Governor Polis that opted in. But I think some other Democrats are going to come along too. You think Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, you know what he did when he ran for governor in 2022? He put private school choice tax credits into his education platform. And he went on Fox News the next year, reiterating his support for school choice. He ultimately vetoed a school choice bill in a budget, or part of a budget bill. He line item vetoed school choice. And then at the time, he was able to have his cake and eat it too, Scarlett, because he said, I support school choice. I still, it's still a great thing. But, the Senate's controlled by Republicans. The House is controlled by Democrats. This was the only way to get them to send a budget bill to my desk because I had agreed to veto the school choice part out. But now he can no longer point the finger at the House. He can't blame anybody else. The decision is Josh Shapiro's decision. So we'll see what happens. I've been emailing his team, and we'll see. But the other good news, Scarlett, this week is, well, it's stuff that's been moving through legislatures. Most of the magic happens at the state and local level, and that's where it should be. We shouldn't have a federal Department of Education. I know the department, the Trump administration, good news there is they're kind of giving it death by 1,000 cuts, shipping out pieces out of that department to try to move education back to the state. So the thing is, you need 60 votes in Congress to totally rip the Band-Aid off and get it out of there. But they're making it easier to do so by piecemealing parts out of the department. The less that the department does, the easier it is for Congress to say, well, why is it even there anymore if we don't really need it? So good kudos to the Trump administration for taking every step that it can do constitutionally to get rid of the Department of Education. But at the state level, look, 92% of all K through 12 education funding is at the state level, and local level it should be 100%, but that's just how things go. And we've had 17 states pass universal school choice in the past 4 years alone. We've had more advancement on school choice in the past 4 years than the preceding 4 decades. And the latest kind of battle that everybody is watching is Mississippi. So I know Moms for Liberty has Lindsey Beckham out there fighting at the State House and being a great advocate. Her senator voted against the school choice bill already this year, a very weak version, like the weakest school choice bill that I ever saw on the Senate side. Like even the Democrats should have voted for this, but he even voted against it. She should take his place at some point. But the Mississippi House has a great bill. It's called House Bill 2. President Trump's administration, Linda McMahon, has already voiced support of it. It's a universal school choice bill. It would make it the 18th state to go all in on school choice. Should be a no-brainer. Mississippi is a Republican state. This is on the Republican Party platform. Trump's main education priority is nationwide school choice, especially at the state level. And they've passed it out of their House by the skin of their teeth. It only passed by 1 or 2 votes. It was the speaker's bill as well. Now it's over to the Senate, and the word on the street is the Senate is the holdup. The leader over there, the president of the Senate, is Delbert Hosemann, who supports school choice for his own family. He sent his own kids to private school in Jackson, Mississippi. But then the word on the street is that he doesn't support school choice for others. But thankfully, Governor Tate Reeves is a big supporter of school choice too, making it one of his top priorities. I don't know how this is going to go down, Scarlett. I would think it should just easily pass the Republican-controlled Senate as well. But I believe there's also going to be some troubles in Mississippi. It's not going to be as easy as we hope. And it reminds me of the Texas battle, where you had the Senate always pass the bill. It's kind of this opposite problem. And the House was the holdup in Texas until the governor, Abbott, and parents locked arms and defeated those guys in the primaries. Maybe Tate Reeves has the guts to do the same thing that Abbott did, with some support all across the country and then from parents within his own state. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. It shouldn't need to get political. Politicians should just do the right thing.
I'm going to need to have Lindsay on to talk about this, because I've been putting out some of her posts but I didn't realize how, I think we could make some noise and maybe make a difference if we really could kind of get that story out there, especially now during school choice week. So I'll have to reach out to her, see what we can do.
And we have other good news. The last piece of good news that's really on my mind is Washington State.
Yes.
A deep blue still will go from deep ruby red Mississippi all the way to the West Coast, and Washington State. 2 initiatives we just found out this morning. The girls sports initiative we already knew was qualified. Here's the January 22nd. This was a few days ago. That one qualified for the ballot to protect girls sports. They got way more than enough signatures, and then I think they got over 100,000 more signatures than they needed to qualify.
And you need to because they'll challenge signatures. So you always want to have more than what you're supposed to have.
And they had a really high validity rate. So if you look historically, these, you usually need a 20% buffer, because on average in Washington State, 80% of them are deemed valid. For this one, for girls sports, about 87% of the signatures were valid. It was probably more than that, but you got the Secretary of State's office that's stacked against us. They're against us on this issue of which they shouldn't be. But protecting girls sports will be on the November ballot. Technically, it goes to the legislature first, and the legislature can either pass the bill and say, let's protect girls sports. I don't think they're going to do that, because they're controlled by a lot of far left Democrats in Washington State, or they can propose an alternative that will also go to the ballot side by side, or they can just outright say, we're not talking about this, we're going to reject it, which they've already said in the Washington legislature. The Democrat leadership in both chambers has already said, we're not even going to hear these initiatives to, 1, protect girls' sports, and then 2, to restore parental rights to have more transparency in the public school system. Those both qualified. That second one was the one that we found out about this morning. It's before the legislature now. they're not even going to hear it, which is their constitutional duty in Washington. In their constitution, it says that citizen ballot initiatives that go to the legislature must take precedence before everything else, basically.
Yes.
So like this needs to be their number one priority. And they were in a hearing just the other day saying, nah, we're not even gonna, why do we think that they're not going to talk about these things? Because they're 80-20 issues against the Democrats. They don't want those campaign ads going out with them trying to fumble, trying to defend why they don't know what a woman is and why we can't protect girls' sports and why they want boys dominating girls on the field. I mean, it's just, they can't defend these positions. So they're going to shut it down, even though the Constitution says they can't.
They can't compromise. They would be no, and I don't even know where you can compromise at this point. This is so easy. This is just, if you are a biological male, you cannot play or participate on an all-female athletic team in K-12 schools. Does it go into colleges as well, or is it limited?
I know it's at least K-12, and I think it is K-12, okay. But their main argument, Scarlett, I mean, if you try to steelman their argument to see like, okay, what are they actually saying? And the teachers unions are in on this too. Their main funder of the group that was against gathering signatures, I thought they were all about putting initiatives to the people. I thought they were all about democracy, but then when it's things they don't like, they're a threat to democracy. They even had the teachers union president out there, Larry Delaney. He posted on Facebook that he was happy about a Safeway prohibiting signature gatherers from showing up at the Safeway in his area. It sounds like a threat to democracy to me, but their main argument is that, and they were putting this on flyers in the mail, they were spending campaign money, basically putting out these political ads to force girls to play against boys in sports. Just crazy. But their main argument was, and they thought they had something here, was that that these initiatives, if you want to protect girls' sports, you can't do that because it would lead to invasive genital exams for kids. And
they have to
and a lot of people pointed out, well, we already have exams to participate in sports each year. They're called the annual physical. So, Washington already requires these exams. And by the way, you don't really need all that. I mean, it's not that hard to tell. I mean, most people know the boy that's playing in the girls and beating him on the track. Everybody knows.
Everyone knows.
Stop playing stupid, So
it's never a mystery. It's never a mystery. It's because, especially in most areas where this is happening, kids have been going to school together for a long time, and they were previously known by a male name, presented as male, and then suddenly one year they come to school, and now that all changes. So everyone knows.
And there's other ways to do it too. You can do the cotton swab. You can do you can find the original birth certificate, not an altered birth certificate. You can ask people word of mouth. You can just see who's winning all the competitions. I mean, you're right, Scarlett. It's not a mystery. Like,
it's not a mystery.
Like people in the local area know.
It's like, don't believe your line eyes. Like, we can tell. It's never like, gee, I can't tell which one. Could it be the 6'4" guy that's really muscular, has painted nails, but kind of a 5 o'clock shadow? Could that be the one? Oh, I don't know. It's like, give me a break.
And it's never the other way around. I've never seen a case where it's a girl trying to play in boys sports. I mean, why does that never happen? So because there's no competitive advantage to doing so. And that's why we never see the reverse. But so that's, that's the good news in Washington. I think we're going to win on the ballot. Of course, the unions are going to flood the airwaves. They're going to try to push out disinformation like this. And so, while the polling shows this is an 80-20 issue on the side of parents and on the side of girls protecting girls' sports, it's not as cut and dry as that. So while I hope and believe that we're going to win on the ballot, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. We can't just throw our hands up and say, we're going to win this. We have to continue fighting because the evil on the other side is fighting to hurt women, hurt girls, and to keep parents in the dark. They're trying to keep secrets from parents. I mean, it's just insane. They're transitioning kids at school, and then they're saying, oh, we won't tell your parents about these things. Like, that's kind of creepy to me. Like, you're telling kids you're going to keep sexual secrets about them from their own parents. Like, who do you think you are? You're not the parent. you're just someone that's works as a government employee in the school system. You don't have the best interest of those kids. And if anything, you're confusing the hell out of them and you're going to hurt them for the rest of their lives. So the parents need to be involved in these things. And hopefully Washington can get it right. And Scarlett, we're going to win on the Supreme Court on this issue too.
Yes. We've
two
got
cases were just heard.
Yep, 2 cases. I was in DC when they were oral arguments. I listened because I was outside at the rally the whole time. So on the flight on the way back the next day, I would listen to the oral arguments for both cases. And it still was still surreal that what was going back and forth. But what was really clear is both attorneys had basically right off the bat sort of given up even trying to say that there's no biological difference between boys and girls, men and women. They didn't want to define sex because they were afraid of the implications of that, or so that this could apply. Basically, instead of just saying that schools and universities are allowed to have sex-separated sports, they're worried that what if the Supreme Court went even further and said, well, Title IX sort of necessitates that.
Yeah.
And so they're just trying to stop the bleeding. And that's what was apparent to me. And I think a lot of people. But what the miracle of what happened in Washington state is that when the governor wasn't going to do anything about it, and when the state legislature wasn't going to do anything about it because run by Democrats, and then of course there's some school districts that just won't do anything about it, the people got together and they did the last thing that we can do in this country, something that the founding fathers, that is go to the ballot. And another minority right that's so important, and that's why it's really despicable that they won't even hear this ballot. They won't, because this is the last recourse. This is the last way to say, I have tried everything, and now we're going to bring it to the people, put it on a ballot, and take it up for a vote statewide. And it's going to be incumbent upon Let's Go Washington and all of the grassroots organizations under that umbrella now to get all those people that signed to the polls voting. And I know that can be a challenge, but you certainly can do it. And if there is one issue where I think there's a Democrat that might vote Democrat, but on that question, answer yes, let's protect girls' sports. I think this is the issue. So it's just getting that messaging out that even if you're going to vote for a Democrat, say vote on this ballot initiative, on this referendum. This is the way you need to vote. So I'm hoping that they're successful. I definitely will be going out to Washington before this happens because I really want to meet everyone that's done this. And
yeah, and if you can get it done in deep blue Washington, basically that's going to be a green light. You can get it done anywhere, and hopefully, maybe they try it in New York. That'd be crazy,
yes.
But maybe that's the next frontier as well, because they also allow ballot initiatives, and many other states do, particularly blue states. So we'll see what happens. But, I think Justice Brown Jackson needs to recuse herself from that decision because she doesn't know what a woman is and she's not a biologist. So she can't, how can she weigh in on protecting women's sports if she doesn't know what women are? I mean, she said it herself. She's not a biologist. So unless she's going to go get a biology degree before the decision, I think she's got to sit it out. But with her vote or not, we're going to win. I think it's going to be 6-3 based on other decisions like the one that protected Tennessee's right to ban gender affirming care. And to be clear here, this is just a states' rights issue, right? It's just allowing this. It's not saying that every state must protect girls' sports. It's just saying that, which you hinted at earlier, that's what they're trying to prevent from happening. But this is just a step in the right direction of saying, if your state passes a bill like Tennessee and others to protect girls' sports, they should be able to keep that. And, you have the Democrats and the far left at the ACLU trying to force their views on the rest of the country and say every state has to have it their way, which is just totally absurd. And I don't know if you saw the ACLU social media on Facebook. I don't think they're on X. They probably ran away to Blue Sky. But on Facebook, they're posting all of these promotional videos. They have all of these, transgender adults, like men who think that they're women and the other way around, women who think they're men. and they're like posting all these videos that they think are inspirational, but it just like falls flat. Like one of them had one of these guys who thinks he's a woman, and I forget his name, but it was like Princess or something. And I think he's a drag queen and stuff. And he said, like, you know, we're at the Supreme Court because we need trans people to have housing. And they thought it was a good idea to cut this video and, you know, produce it and put it on Facebook. And it had nothing to do with the case. What do you mean trans people need housing? That has nothing to do with the case to protect girls' sports. And then you just had them like doing total gaslighting where people were like, yeah, we're at the Supreme Court because trans people need to be allowed to go to school.
Yes.
No one's passing a bill to not allow trans people, little boys who think they're girls, to go to school. I mean, that's there's no bill anywhere in the country to say that they can't go to public school. The thing is that they're trying to protect girls' sports, and boys play on the boys' team, girls play on the girls' team. Seems pretty simple to me. They can still play sports. You just play sports with your biological sex. I mean, just
yeah, they were doing all sorts of tricks. They had someone going around asking, "Can you name 5 female professional athletes?" To which I said, "I can name 10 girls on my daughter's high school basketball team. That's why I'm here.
That's what matters to you."
That's
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
matters to me. I really don't even care about, like, I care about it, but I'm here because of my daughters,
I remember
and
that one.
because I want my daughter to be able to participate in sports without have to worry about getting harmed physically or even emotionally or assaulted by a man. And girls don't play sports because it's fun. They try to say like, "Oh, it's about the game. It's fun. It's all like." Then join a rec team. Okay, there's lots of them. Go on a co-ed rec team and have tons of fun. But a competitive female team, they are there to win and to achieve and to get scholarships to go to state. They're not there just to socialize, because it's hard work. And if they want to socialize, they have other things that they can do. So they used a lot of those arguments. They also were carrying Palestinian flags and anti-ICE, and all we were there for is saving girls' sports. And that was the constant theme. We had Democrats, we had LGBT groups, but the thing that we could agree on, there were feminists, but we just want to protect girls' sports. They had just a whole hodgepodge group of like, and that's because it's a lot of AstroTurf.
Yep.
People just coming in and from all over, and it's not cohesive or unified. Everyone, and they try to drown us out at our
I
rally,
heard that they were just like screaming the whole time.
screaming the whole time. And every once in a while it'd be quiet and you'd hear something they're screaming, and we'd all look at each other like, they're
What
crazy.
the hell? They
What
don't even
are
know what
they
they're talking
saying?
about. Like they don't know why they're there. I mean, half the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we're here for affordable housing, and we think that's a good idea to post that on social media from our official ACLU account. I mean, just what a total utter embarrassment. And I think they know they put that out. It wasn't like an accident. They're going to put out whatever they can, throw everything at the wall to see what sticks. I think they see the writing on the wall, though, that they're going to lose. Yeah. And, you know, maybe they think they're creating political ads to attack Republicans on this issue, but I don't see who they're trying to. I mean, you would think they'd be like the Washington State Democrats. At least they have some rationality to say, you know what, we don't want to debate these issues because we're on the wrong side of history. That's why they're not presenting them before the legislature and not going to debate the issues, because they know it's going to hurt them politically. But I guess the ACLU isn't a politician. It's more of an advocacy group, and they're trying to get contributions for their far left causes from whoever they receive money.
Yeah, that's really what they're trying to do. So Corey, as we wrap up, I would like to ask more about teachers unions, which is something that you know a lot about, and because what we'll see this week, what we're hearing, it's been cold out, but that there's going to be a bunch of organized walkouts of teachers and students. I've seen some of these walkouts already here in some suburban areas of Wisconsin, some of the more wealthy suburban districts. And in one, I saw it was led by 2 Democrats who are elected state representatives, and they had bullhorns and they were leading and they led the kids out, and then they were chanting, they were telling the kids, and these are all high school students, to contact the representatives and to seek legislation. They were giving the kid, they were just contact us, we'll tell you, we'll give you the numbers, the emails. And then they were,
That seems illegal.
that seems, and they were also leading the kids in a chant, what are you going to do if you see a federal ICE agent? And they yell back, fight back.
Oh my
So,
God.
Encouraging,
They want the kids to get
hurt.
To get hurt, so they could use it for their political campaigns. Yes. It's insane. I mean, in some states, you know, yeah, I'd have to look at the statute in the state, but in a lot of states, like where I live in Texas, it's illegal to use school district resources to campaign, to engage in political electioneering. So I'd like to, you know, check out some of these instances, but you know, people know that this stuff is happening all across the country. And, you know, I was posting that teachers from the teachers union in Iowa, Washington State, a bunch of others, they're all circulating this graphic from the National Education Association to wear blue on certain days, to stand up and get against ICE. So it really goes to show you, this is why our kids are failing on math, reading, and writing. Why do you think only a fifth of kids are proficient in math in America? Well, it's because the teachers aren't focused on math, reading, and writing. They didn't. A lot of the teachers union members and people like Randy Weingarten got into the system because they see it as a political project. They can infiltrate the school system, shape the minds of young children, and, you know, the bad actors ruin the look of the entire profession. Obviously, there's a lot of good teachers in the system, a lot of conservatives, independents, and even rational Democrats who don't want to bring their politics into the classroom. They need to opt out of their union, though, because this money that's taken from their paycheck goes towards people like Randy Weingarten, who makes over $500,000 a year. It goes towards these far left political causes that they disagree with. And if you just want to focus on the basics, you need to opt out, stop funding these monsters who hate you, and join alternatives like the Teacher Freedom Alliance. They're providing free liability insurance, and you can do it easily. You can go to optouttoday.com. You click on your state, wherever you are in America, and it'll tell you how to opt out, because you can no longer be compelled to fund your union. It would violate your First Amendment rights. We won on this issue at the Supreme Court in the Janus decision. So if you're a teacher and you think that because you've always paid union dues, that it just has to be that way, it doesn't anymore. They can't force you to pay union dues. And I mean, yeah, if you would be forced to do so, which used to be the case, that would force public sector employees to fund political campaigns that they disagree with. And 99.9% of the campaign contributions from Randy Weingarten's union, AFT, went to Democrats this past election cycle. It's been like that for several decades. And it's a money laundering operation for the far left arm of the Democrat Party. And so teachers need to opt out. So for School Choice Week, we should celebrate the wins of having more competition, having families vote with their feet. But we need teacher choice too. Teachers need to vote with their feet, starve the beast, and defund the unions from the inside, so that, you know, we have competition, not just for the school district so that they improve, but also competition for the unions so that they get out of the political crap and start to focus on member benefits instead. Maybe that'll lead to better test scores if you do right by the teachers, but they're not providing for the teachers. They're just funneling the money to far left causes like this.
Yes.
And, you know, if you look at the LM2 report, it's a required report from the Department of Labor. The NEA, largest teachers union, publicly available information from 2024, reported that less than 10% of their total revenues in union dues went towards representing teachers. Only 9% went towards representing teachers. Millions, 40 million or so, went towards what they classify as political causes and lobbying. So, I mean, that's just the amount that they admit to, and that's just one union. You have tons of unions all across the country at the state and local level. You have AFT as well. That's just one, the NEA, 40 million on political causes. And I bet you it's more than that. And that's just the amount that they classify as political stuff. They probably classify a whole bunch of other bubble on the margin stuff that looks political to us, but maybe it doesn't cross the line. Or maybe they feel like they can get away with it by classifying it as advocacy or something else.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
teachers that aren't aware. I was just having dinner with our Moms for Liberty group in my area, and there's a lot of former teachers in this group, and they brought 2 new members that are current teachers, and they weren't aware. I let them know about Teacher Freedom Alliance and that they could opt out, and there's representation, and about the big conference that's coming up in Texas this summer. And they were so excited. They were like, can you send me a screenshot? Can you get me this information? I'm going to share it with some other people.
I think it's like July 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, you know what? I think that so I'm trying to get a group to go of paras and teachers, special ed teachers, just because they didn't even realize that this exists. They're working every day. They're not in the same ecosystem that we are. So we can't assume that everyone knows what we know. And that goes to wrap it up with school choice. That goes with school choice. A lot of people don't understand what this opt-in is about. And they think that, money is being taken away from my school district. It's not. It's don't believe the lies or the mischaracterizations, or they won't tell you the whole truth. This is explain one last time what this program is.
They're private donations. It doesn't touch a single local, state, or even federal dollars in your state education system. So why would you not, as Jared Polis said, participate in this no-brainer? He said he would be crazy not to. Those are his words. And he's a Democrat and even understands this. So it's private donations that will add to your education system in your state. It makes no freaking sense why anybody would say no, unless they're like, oh my gosh, it's attached to Trump, so I can't support this. And so, at the end of the day, even with the state level programs that do allow taxpayer dollars to fund the student as opposed to the system, the money doesn't belong to the freaking schools. It doesn't belong to the private or the public schools. It belongs to the kids, and it should follow them to the school that works best. So whether that's a public school or a private school. But you don't even have to get into that argument when it comes to the Trump's Big Beautiful Bill program. It's a tax credit. You're not giving your money to the government to begin with. It doesn't take a single penny of state, local, or federal dollars from your education system. So I think people get the 2 issues confused, and that's why we need to educate them and look it up. If you don't believe me, look up Trump's school choice program, and you'll find it.
And can homeschooling parents have access to those funds as well?
Yep, and it's currently set at an income eligibility threshold of 300% of the median income in your area. So in LA, that's like 300,000 thousand in household income. So in Dallas, I did the math in an article I put out today in the National Review, and it was, I don't remember the specific dollar amount, it was 2 something, but I looked up the census data, and that was over 85-90% of the population in Dallas, Texas, for example. So if you live in a higher income area, it's a higher income threshold. So it makes it, more likely that more people can participate in different geographic areas. So go check it out. And even if you don't receive the scholarship, which it'll be great if you have kids and you want to use the scholarship, but let's say that you don't have any kids, or let's say you're a grandparent and your kids aren't, they're adults and they're doing their own thing, and you can still donate. And why would you not? Why would you not? It's $1,700. You either give it to the government, they're going to light it on fire, or you give it to scholarships.
Yes,
and
it's a tax write-off. So
100% dollar for dollar tax credit, meaning you're no financially worse off. A lot of times people think like, oh, on my taxes, I'm going to write this off as a business expense or something, and you don't get the 100% of that expense back. But with a dollar for dollar tax credit, the $1,700, you get it right back, the full $1,700 back in April when taxes come. So why would you not? So I think there's going to be so many scholarships available all across the country, because you're not profiting from donating, obviously, but I guess you're profiting in a way in that the money's going towards a cause that you care about, as
Yes.
opposed towards Somali fraudulent daycares in
Yes,
Minnesota.
I know.
And so it's a no-brainer on the donor side too. So
Yeah, so if you are in the
that's
higher income bracket, and even if you can't use that money for your family, you can, because we, like, families donate, they donate $500,000, so they could donate that amount and they can use it as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
Homeschooling families, I think this needs to be more widely discussed, that even homeschooling families can use
Yep.
that money to help purchase curriculum. There's a lot of different ways, and most likely, if you're a homeschooling family, you're living off of one income, and I'm sure you're going to fall under that threshold. It's probably pretty likely that you will, so you'll be able to use that. And so,
and
I
one
think,
last piece of thing that I left out is that, which is important, because people are like, well, what if my state already has school choice? Like, so Texas, we just passed, a ESA program, which can be used for homeschooling. It's only $2,000 for the homeschoolers. They need to fix that. I mean, when they go back in session, I'm going to be reminding them constantly that it should be equal, regardless of whether you're homeschool or private school. But private school students get $10,000 or so, a little more in Texas. And with the federal program, you could also stack the funding together. So let's say you're a homeschool family, you get $2,000. You could also get a scholarship for $2,000 or $3,000 from the federal program, or if you had the $10,000 for private school, let's say your private school costs $15,000, you can get the $5,000 from the other scholarship, and so you can stack them. And so, if you're in a state that you have scholarships already, this isn't a legitimate excuse not to participate in the program. So
that's great. You can augment what you already have. That's really great, because oftentimes they have formulas for school choice. I know that is in Wisconsin, where the school, they withhold a certain percentage and give it to the school district. So this would be really helpful. This would be helpful, and I think more schools would take more choice students if they didn't lose money off of every choice student. So this is
Arizona, for example, their government schools spend like $16,000 a kid, but the scholarships are only like $8,000 a kid. So it's like half.
In Wisconsin, it's the same. It's the same. They get $8,000 or $9,000, even though the public school will spend
double,
$16,000 to. And if you're in Milwaukee, they'll spend even more. And the recent NAEP scores show that they're failing miserably. We need the off ramp. At the end of the day, we have to think that, and it's not just because it used to be that school choice was kind of sold as this is a way for disadvantaged families to have an off ramp to the public school system. Now that parents in suburban districts have to constantly deal with woke nonsense and boys and girls bathroom at DEI, and they're taking out gifted and talented programs and accelerated learning programs, but you're still paying the same, if not more. You've got now suburban parents that are like, hey, I want out too. And
it needs to be universal. That's why the new barometer of success is, it used to be incremental. Let's tinker here and there. Milwaukee was one of the birthplace of school choice, the modern day school choice movement. And it was, sold as a way to help the least advantaged. And that's still a good argument. It does benefit the least advantaged. But you're right. During COVID, parents were like, what the hell is this?
I want out too.
Gender ideology. Exactly. And so, like, even if your scores on the report card are fine and everything looks okay at the surface level, parents saw on the Zoom screen something else is going on. And if you don't want your kid brainwashed, I think that's arguably even more important, a more powerful argument for school choice, because this is your ideological enemies subverting your will as a parent and brainwashing them in ways that are counter to everything you're trying to do at home. So test scores are one benefit, but I mean, having your kid raised the right way is bigger.
And even the best suburban school district they change, like in Wisconsin, they do this all over the country. They keep moving the goalposts so that they exceed expectations, but that's because they just dropped that threshold by 5%. And when they do it every year, after about 5 years, you noticed a big difference. And frankly, and then families move.
That was Underly that did all this, right?
Underly, Jill
That's
Underly.
right.
And families move into certain districts, maybe stretching, like they're buying a home that's a little more than what they wanted to spend, but they wanted their kids to go to a good school district. So they can't afford private school because they're already maxed out. They've bought a home in an area that, and I mean, then you're a dad now. You know, I have 5 kids. The number one thing that parents are looking for when they're buying a house is, what's the school district like? Is it safe? And when school districts are failing students, then and all students, then I think all parents should have choice.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
a good reason to have National School Choice Week. And hopefully some of the blue states come along, and hopefully Wisconsin gets a new governor so that the
Yes.
legislature can finally do what it's been trying to do under Evers, who's blocked it every step of the way, try to pass universal school choice.
Well, thank you, Corey, for coming on. This has been a great conversation as always, and a great way to start School Choice Week here at Moms for Liberty. I know that our moms all over the country are fighting hard for parents, parental rights, for children, and for teachers too. That we just want things to be normal. We just want things to be normal again, and for our kids to go to school and learn things, and the things we would like them for not to learn are about being sexualized and DEI and all that stuff. We'd just like them to be able to thrive in their lives. So
yeah, thanks for everything you guys are doing at Moms for Liberty. And yeah, we couldn't have done it without you. We're marching along
yes,
towards a land of education freedom. So thanks for having me, Scarlett.
Thanks for coming on, Corey. Bye. That was a great discussion with Corey. Again, I want to reiterate that at the federal level, President Trump has introduced a powerful new tax credit school choice program, part of the big, beautiful bill. It lets taxpayers redirect their own money into scholarships for kids instead of sending it into the federal government bureaucracy. It doesn't touch public school funding, it doesn't defund schools, and it overwhelmingly benefits working and middle-class families, which is amazing. Here's the key tension, though. The program threatens the power structure of teachers, unions, and political activists who rely on public schools as their ideological platforms, and they don't want to provide any off-ramps. This program gives taxpayers a dollar-for-dollar federal tax credit for donating to scholarship organizations that help families across private schools, homeschooling resources, and alternative education options without taking a single penny from public schools. Individuals can redirect up to $1,700 and married couples $3,400 straight from their tax bill into scholarships that actually change kids' lives. And that's amazing. Actually, in the genius part, governors must opt their states in for families to benefit. Anyone in the country can donate and claim the tax credit, but only kids in states that have opted in receive the scholarships. That creates real pressure on governors to act or explain why they're leaving families behind in their state. And I'll tell you, in my state of Wisconsin, Governor Evers has a lot of explaining to do. We celebrated the fact that there are now 20 states that have opted in, 20 states, and that's amazing. We talked about looking at this map. We need every state to be a part of this program. I think that would be amazing. And today, it was great. North Dakota just announced that they are participating in this new federal program offering this tax benefit that I just described. So that's really good news. And I wanted to talk about this. I don't want to sound like a commercial, but this is a really big deal. This is a big deal because if you're a homeschooling family, you can access the scholarship. If you have if you can't, I think that you could even use this for tutoring and services that you need for your child as far as education. And best of all, if you are in a state that has a school choice program that you are able to participate in, this just adds to it so it doesn't detract. So if you get $10,000 in your state, like Corey said in Texas, then you can add some of this scholarship onto that. And that will help promote school choice in every state because uh, particularly states where there's a funding formula, where if they do provide for school choice, the reimbursement rate to the private school that takes choice students is at a rate that's far less than what their tuition is and far less than what the state allots to a school district per child. Like we talked about in Wisconsin, on average, 16,000 a year per child, usually more than that. And if your child participates in the school choice program, they receive, I believe, $9,000 to $10,000. And so a school that participates in school choice will often, on every child that they admit, there is a loss. There's a shortfall because they still give a portion of the dollars that are allotted to each kid back to the school district in which the family lives, even if the child is not attending in that school district. So there's a lot of things that you learn after a lot of years of advocacy, and I'm always learning more. But one thing I do know, that more choice, more options, it's just better. It's better for all families. I definitely support universal school choice, and I would love to see universal school choice expanded to all 50 states because we just need options. When a public school is not working out for our kids, we need to have another option, no matter where you are. But especially it's true for disadvantaged families that are stuck in the absolute worst school districts. Usually, like in Wisconsin, it's Milwaukee. In the cities, in these largely populated areas controlled usually by Democrats, almost exclusively by Democrats. And that's where the majority of the dollars for public education are spent and wasted because they have the worst, most abysmal scores that every year, they're so bad. Their reading scores, their math scores, they're just abysmal. And it gets to the point where proficiency rates are 0% in some school districts. And by that means, like say for NAEP, they'll rate it on how many third or fourth grade students can read at grade level. They're proficient to read at their grade level. And there are, in some school districts, 0%. And overall, in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee Public Schools, the proficiency rate of fourth graders that are Black or Hispanic in Milwaukee is 5%. So only 5% of Black and Hispanic kids can read at grade level. And that's unacceptable. That's absolutely unacceptable. And of course, if you would like to learn more about Corey, I would encourage you to follow him, and I'm going to put this up right now. Let's get this up here. Follow him on X at DeAngelis Corey. He always has so much information. You definitely want to follow him, and you could also read his book, The Parent Revolution. It's a great book and talks a lot about everything that we've discussed, and then more: school choice, teachers unions, what happened during COVID, what activated parents, and it's great. So please be sure that you follow Corey and you stay on top of all of his work. And I want to bring up again um, the most recent article that I read this morning in the National Review. Why 2026 marks the dawn of nationwide school choice. All of the facts that we discussed today are in this article. So just go to National Review, or Corey has his article pinned to his X account, so you can just find it there. So there's how you get a hold of Corey and you start to follow his. At the end of the day, this is not complicated. When schools cheer political walkouts, when unions protect ideology over instruction, and when elected officials applaud kids for skipping class, parents notice, and they should. That's why voices like Corey DeAngelis matter right now. His work, including the parent revolution, puts words to what families are already feeling, that education belongs to parents, not bureaucracies, not political movements, not teachers' unions, and not political parties. School choice isn't an attack on public education. It's a lifeline for families who want learning instead of activism, who want excellence instead of excuses, and who want accountability instead of ideology. Whether it's happening in Washington or right here in my home state of Wisconsin, the message is still the same. If schools won't refocus on educating kids, parents will take back control, and they are. And that's not radical, that's responsibility. And as parents, it's our responsibility because these are our children, not the government's. And we are in charge of raising our kids. So thanks for tuning in. Happy School Choice Week, and hope to talk to you soon all. Bye. Have a good night. Unmute. Now I'm going to play the interview I just recorded an hour ago with Sarah Garriott. Sarah Garriott is the chapter leader at Pierce County in Washington State, and she was part of a broad coalition under the banner Let's Go Washington. And I want her to talk about what it's like in Washington State and just a little bit of what they had to overcome and the victory that they've achieved, and now they still have got they've got a long road ahead, but why you should care about what's happening in Washington State, especially if you live in a state that would be labeled a blue state, you know. So if you're moping and you're thinking, oh, I live in a blue state, kind of like I do sometimes, and I live in a purple state, Wisconsin. Wisconsin delivered, yay, for Trump. And we've got Ron Johnson as senator, and we have sanity in our state legislature, but in our assembly and Senate. But we have Governor Evers, as we talked about with Corey DeAngelis, and we have got a radical left-wing woke white woman problem in our state Supreme Court. So they and we are on the precipice of deciding, are we going to become Iowa or Minnesota? And it can be a scary place. So let's listen to what Sarah has to say. I was recording this in my kitchen while I was making dinner. So the video is okay, but the conversation is great. And I many times was like, whoa, blown away, shocked at how bad, how bad these Democrats are in Washington, but how conniving, and what they'll do for power. Hint, anything. They'll do anything for that beloved democracy. Just love democracy. They love it when everything's going their way. They don't like democracies so much when it comes to people who disagree with them. I would call that tyranny, not democracy. I think that they have a real problem when the people speak out and it's not it's something they don't want to hear. So just this whole illusion, oh, we love democracy, how to get our democracy back. It's um it's like saying that if there's a guy saying I love monogamy, and to me that means I get to have 10 girlfriends at once, and like it's just words. You're just saying something. Words, like saying words don't matter if you don't mean them and you don't understand that, and first of all, we are a democratic republic, but this love for democracy, no, they just want demagoguery. So when you hear democracy, think demagoguery. They love demagoguery. They are pro demagoguery. They are demagogues. And if you don't know what that means, look it up. So let's start talking. Let's start this great conversation with Sarah Garriott. She's a fighter, and as are so many of our Washington friends. And I've got an interview coming up with Amanda McKinney, who is running for Congress. And so look forward to that. And she, Washington State. So, but let's get to Sarah. So here we go. Hi, this is Scarlett Johnson here and with Moms for Liberty, and I am talking with my friend Sarah Garriott, and I could talk to you about what's happening in Washington, and I know Corey and I are going to talk about that, but I wanted to bring in someone who is there, boots on the ground, and who saw this miracle come to fruition. So Sarah, I want you to talk about what happened in Washington State and the huge achievement that you all just had this month. So go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Scarlett. I really appreciate that. It's been fantastic. There will be a rally on February 3rd, if anyone's around, for the two initiatives that Let's Go Washington sponsored. That's an grassroots organization here in Washington State, and our chapter, Moms for Liberty Pierce County, and several other Moms for Liberty chapters around the state partnered with them, as well as, of course, many other organizations and citizens across this state to gather signatures for the two initiatives, both of which, as of today, have qualified to the legislature. Our Secretary of State qualified both of them. And so one of them is keeping girls' sports female, and the other one is for parents' rights. And that one is especially interesting because we already passed it once. We already qualified it once. And so rather than be defeated, we're doing it again. And that's a long story. I don't know if I'm seriously long. I could wrap it up. Do you want me to know how that happened?
Yeah, what happened? I didn't know you'd already done it before. So what happened?
Yes, absolutely. So in 2023, Let's Go Washington, leader of that organization, his name is Brian Haywood. And he put out some money to help us get that across. And of course, many other organizations donated and helped. And we all gathered signatures, many of us, like myself, for free, without a cent, and spent many of our summer days and gathering signatures for the original Parents' Rights Initiative in the summer and fall of 2023. And in fact, that summer, some of our chapters members were out gathering signatures that summer, and we had lots of protesters with, blaring their horns at us. Black Panthers arrived fully armed. They eventually left, but it was crazy. In many of the initiative, people gathering signatures for this round also have been assaulted, harassed. I mean, it's been unbelievable. But undaunted, because this is for our children, with a smile on our face and trying to remain peaceful, we have gotten this done. So yes, the first round of signatures for the Parents' Rights Initiative was in 2023 legislative session in 2024, which we accomplished. The legislature, when they receive an initiative from the people, in other words, a law initiated from the people to the legislature, have three choices. They can pass it as it is written, and the governor may not veto it, or they can ignore it and send it to the ballot the following November for the people to vote on. And the third option is that they can allow it to go to the ballot, and then they can write sort of their own sort of side-by-side comparison, their own initiative similar to ours with their changes to it, and that can both go to the people on the ballot. So those are their choices. So in 2024 legislative session, they passed it almost unanimously. And of course we celebrated. But immediately thereafter, our state superintendent, Chris Reichdahl, came out and said, school boards, don't pass this, don't put this into policy. We believe that it's unconstitutional and that it will be challenged in the courts. And we don't want to put you in legal jeopardy. So don't put it into policy. As if he just overruled the entire legislature, all the people, and everything. I mean, talking about no kings. This was and he's not a judge. He's the state superintendent. But that's what happened. And so then, of course, it was challenged. Yeah,
did the school districts have to listen? I mean, they don't have to, but they did, right?
They did, of course. Yes. So they, cautiously, and now mind you, this was just coming on the heels of that same summer where we had the Biden Title IX changes. And when the Biden Title IX changes came down, that same superintendent came in and said, you must, school districts, put this into place, even though Moms for Liberty had, legal action, right, that we could stop that. And he said there are lawsuits, around the country, but none of them pertain to Washington State, which of course was false because of the Moms for Liberty one that we had, right? So this was just absolutely, and he said, I'm just keeping you all out of legal jeopardy. That was his line all the time. So anyway, talk about, hypocritical. But anyway, so then this happened. It was challenged. It went to the Washington State Supreme Court. And do you know, in King County, that's a Seattle court, they ruled in January of 2025, once the legislative session had started just this last year, that initiative was in fact constitutional. There was nothing wrong with it. And of course, they should have been putting it into place. So the legislature last year then wrote a law, HB 1296, it stripped all the most important things from the law. They had to just wait 1 year, and then they could go in and change it how they wanted to. So they went in, they stripped all the rights out of parents, the transparency, the medical, everything that we had, because this is parents' rights specifically for K through 12 public education. No more transparency. Yeah.
People, so they understand the parents' rights. One of the main, that it was prohibiting the secret transition of children.
Yes.
Right. And what else? Because it's not, because I think people will think, oh, parents' rights, but no, this is really serious.
Yeah, so parents have a right to access their children's medical records at school, have a right to access any curriculum, obviously, that's being taught, have a right to see any records that are being kept on their children at school, their behavior counselors' records, etc. Right? So this is critical that parents have that right to be able to, they can't be transing children at school and keeping those secrets from parents. Now, Washington State has a policy that school districts across our state have been required to implement. It's policy 3211, in which the state has told them you need to have this in place to keep secrets from parents, essentially, that you can trans children. And in some of the language I've seen, now not all school districts, some have altered it, tried to soften it as best they could and still remain in accordance with this policy, but some of it even calls parents dangerous, right? I mean, so it's unbelievable. And so this is what they did. They stripped all of those things back out of the initiative that we had. They had just passed a year before, literally, and that the Supreme Court here in Washington State had ruled now completely constitutional. And then they added more to it. They added things like, if the school districts won't abide by state law, regardless if it's in conflict with federal law, then the superintendent can now withhold up to 20% of their funding.
Wow.
Yeah. So here you have the situation now where you've got school districts saying, but we don't want to keep secrets from parents. And if we don't put this policy in place, they can come in and do a review and withhold our funding, which we can't afford. And if we don't abide by Title IX, then the federal government will withhold our funding. And so here we are in this catch-22 situation. It's a no-win situation for our school districts. And we do have now a few school directors and parents out of Thurston County who have now a lawsuit against the state on that bill 1296, when it's now law, and as well as obviously this parents' rights initiative. So what Brian Haywood did, and all of us who helped gather the signatures this year, was we said we're not going to. Oh, and I have to add one more thing. I'm sorry to interrupt myself. But in addition to that 1296, they also added another line that to the oath of office.
Hi, just a little malfunction. I'm going to get it right back up. Hold on one second. Great conversation. All right, gonna get that back up, and I'm gonna move it
Hi.
over. Sign right, even though you go through and you try and figure it out. So you want to overshoot. You can't. So let's think. I'll start it right here.
There's lots happening around all those issues. So we can speculate all day long.
We're about, let's go 10 minutes in. Sorry.
To restore the Parents' Bill of Rights the way we put it to the legislature in the first place.
Great.
And Brian Haywood, and I don't have the exact numbers, you might want to get him on your call to talk with him, but he mentioned that between the union here, the WEA, and the other unions, et cetera, who are against these initiatives, that they outspent Let's Go Washington. I want to say it was 10-1. Like they spent something upwards of $50 million against us, in addition to organizing people to come and harass signature gatherers and all of that, right, when we were doing this last year.
Wow. Wow.
So I know.
For real caveat, could you just let everyone know your background real quickly? Because you've got a background that lends a lot, even more credibility to everything that you're doing.
Well, I don't know about that. I am the chapter chair of Moms for Liberty Pierce County. I have been for 3 years. I'm a mom of 3 children. My youngest is 14.
And you've been fighting for a long time.
For about 5 years, since the
5 years.
lockdowns, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when, I could tell you my whole story, but really 5 years ago when they locked this state down, and it was one of the hardest lockdown states, and our governor took kingship, I will call it, speaking of no kings, for over 900 days with no legislative oversight. Here in Washington State, total control, and you know, those who were supported that just
long.
yes, and we were always like shooting up flares. Does anyone, hey, because you'd hear on the news, California and New York and Chicago or in Illinois, we're like, and Washington, don't forget us over here, Washington, But meanwhile, you have this. Basically, it feels like a cartel running the state, right? Between the unions, and we have a full Democrat trifecta. They've been in with a few exceptions, they've had a trifecta rule here in Washington for 40 years. And a lot is coming out these days.
Why do you think that they held out for so long, even longer than some other blue states?
Well, there is a lot of, I could make lots of guesses on that, but we have all mail-in voting here. I will say that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were one of the first states. I believe Oregon was the first, and we tailed right on with them in California. I mean, you look at the people who have all mail-in voting: Colorado, Oregon, California, Washington, and sometimes I think, other areas have it sometimes too. And I think Utah has it now, which makes me ill. We can watch Utah turn blue real fast after that. So, and they're sanctuary states, or cities. So, and they're fighting the administration to have those people removed. And of course, there's lots happening around all those issues. So we can speculate all day long. I think more and more information is coming out and we'll get to the bottom of this.
But okay,
in the meantime, they are in power.
So considering all that, considering
Mm-hmm.
the deep, like the blue trifecta, and I just talked to Amanda McKinney, who's running for Congress, and
Yeah,
she
out of
said,
Yakima. Mm-hmm.
yeah, Yakima County, and she said Washington, like there's so much of Washington, like is red, rural, all these, but then you've got these highly populated areas they're blue, they're small on the map, but they're densely populated, and they're powerful and there's powerful interests. So despite all of that, you were able to collect over 800,000 signatures, right? And that
Yeah, over
is
900,000 for the two initiatives on the girls sports and the parents' rights. Yeah.
that is
Mm-hmm.
not easy to do. I had to collect signatures to recall for school board members in my local area, and we had to get over 16,000. Then you have to overshoot because
Yes.
you couldn't have they'll challenge, there's
Mm-hmm.
always, there could be just something wrong, they'll find someone didn't sign
Mm-hmm.
right, even though you go through and you try and figure it out. So you want to overshoot, you got to make
Yeah,
sure
you
that
have to have that overage, at least 20%
yep.
plus, right?
Yep. So
Mhm.
we, what you said, I spent an entire summer living out of my minivan with my kids and a little
Mhm.
table that I'd bring out and
Yes.
just signs everywhere and petitions. And we were
Mhm.
challenged. We had to go to court. Luckily, we had the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty,
Oh
but
yeah.
they
Okay,
were
good.
trying to prevent us from putting up signs. They were trying to get us. Oh, we would go in front of the library. They would try to get us kicked out of that. They sent police officers over to intimidate us all the time. And we're just
Unbelievable.
moms with little kids at that time, like all of our little kids running around. And we're just trying to collect signatures.
The same
Um,
people who say they're out protecting democracy, right?
yep,
They're
yep.
trying to
They were trying
interrupt
to
an
thwart it.
actual very democratic process.
Yep, they were trying to thwart it.
Mhm.
When we turned in the signatures, they challenged, they hired a legal firm. We had to raise money and hire another legal firm. And when all that was done, it was so great to be able to do that. But the
Mhm.
power of the teachers unions then after with the voting, we only had 6 weeks to have an election. You guys, how long do you guys have so this is on the ballot for November then, right?
Well, so right now, technically, they could have a hearing. We would love for enough pressure to come on our legislature, maybe from the outside of the state, usually is what helps the most. When the light is shown on our legislature, they finally sometimes will react. So that would be nice. If we could get more attention on this from, outside of our state, that would be helpful. We really want them to have a hearing so that the people's voices can be heard. You should remember also that should be noted that in 2025, when they were busy stripping the parents' rights bill and making their own version of it last year, for the first time in 130 years, the Speaker of the House, Lori Jenkins, decided that she would get rid of the rule, and she changed the rule, I should say, so that she could end floor debate with a simple majority, rather than having a larger majority to do. And the one bill that I know for sure that she used that on was, of course, the Parents' Rights Bill, so that she literally silenced the voices of the people on this. After we had gathered the signatures, brought it from the people to our legislature, they then, changed it all, came back, they changed it all, stripped it. They were making this HB 1296. Then the House Speaker shuts down debate on the floor so that the voices of the people and our representatives cannot be heard on our side. And then they added an emergency clause to that bill because it was such an emergency that these changes be made that when they do that, we are not allowed to run a referendum on that bill. Normally we could, gather signatures, have 7 weeks to gather 200,000 signatures or whatever and run a referendum on it. But they added the emergency clause because they said it was such an emergency to, protect kids from the parents, that they ran it as an emergency clause so that we couldn't even run a referendum, which is why we were forced then to run a second initiative, which takes twice as many signatures. You do have a lot more time to gather them. But I mean, it's just been horrendous.
These are
So
not the people that
tyrannical.
love, quote, democracy. And
Yeah, no,
it's
they have no love for democracy. And because even
no.
right now, this very moment, they are running about 2, maybe 3 bills through the legislature to try and upend our initiative process because it's the last voice we have. the last
It
little bit.
is.
So they're going to try and require that we collect 1,000 signatures before you can even file for an initiative. They want to make it so that the person collecting signatures has to sign on the back, basically that if any of the signatures were incorrect or whatever, that we could be held criminally liable. So nobody's going to want to gather signatures if you think that you're going to get
Criminally.
punished if anything. Yeah, and here's the people, these are from the people who say anyone can basically register to vote if you just say, on my honor, I'm a citizen, right? And then they mass mail ballots out and they say the signatures are fine. But on this, I mean, they are going, it's just, there's a podcast out. I'll give a shout out to Brandy Cruz. If you don't follow her, she's a
I
citizen
do.
podcaster here. She's fantastic. And she did a bit of a piece on this just recently. They had a hearing in committee on one of the initiative killer bills, we're calling them. And of course, all three of the union representatives, 3 union representatives there saying nonsense. And I wrote to my Senator Deb Krishnadashan here out of my district, and I said, hey, they're calling it, the unions are saying, well, these are millionaires, and the poor citizens, they don't even know what they're signing because it's just been paid for by
Oh,
millionaires or whatever.
I know.
And, I got this letter back from my senator, and she said, well, I'm grateful for all the things you do, but we're just going to, these bills are really to make sure that citizens know, what it is that they're signing for, that they have an clear understanding of what it is they're doing.
I
It's
guess they're
so
not smart enough.
condescending.
I know they're not
It's so
smart enough.
condescending and arrogant, right? And that you're
They
doing
need
it
it to be
correctly,
explained to them, like, because
right?
they
Has
must not have understood what they signed.
Yeah, or they
Because
wouldn't have signed this, right? And
oh
then
my
that they're
gosh,
doing it correctly, as if we've been doing this correctly, and it was even certain. I mean, the Secretary of State certifies it. That means it was done correctly. And and then the
these are
Supreme Court said, yeah, it was even constitutional. I mean, it's just nonsense. They just can't stand anyone else having a voice.
no. They'll move the needle. They'll keep
Yes.
moving and moving. Like no matter what you do, you can't get there. I mean, how could this be challenged in court if they were to do
Well,
this?
right now it's running through, but they have the majority. I mean, they have they can
Couldn't
pass
the
just about
Could this
whatever they
go
want
to
to.
the
So we'll see.
Supreme Court? Could this
It
like
will
get? I mean,
definitely be challenged. Oh,
it
yes.
has
I mean,
to.
absolutely.
This
It's a
is
First Amendment.
scary.
This is a First Amendment. This will definitely, if they pass this, it will definitely be challenged in court, and it will not win. It just won't.
No, I
There was some
can't see
great
it.
legal analysis about it, and they've written it to them. Many people are signing in, many people are speaking back. But that takes time. See, anything they can also do to delay is part of their game. So
Yes.
even if they know it's illegal, they're going to do it because they know it will delay, and
Yes.
that buys time to get things into the school district to allow them to have it in place so that it's much more difficult to extract later on. I mean, it's all just such obfuscation and nonsense.
Yeah. When they have power, they use it.
Wield it.
They
Yeah.
wield it.
Hmm.
And I don't want to use those underhanded tactics and go against,
No.
but when we have power, we hide. We take our little power and we run and hide.
Yeah.
Like I was just talking to Lindsey Beckham in Mississippi. Like when they have majorities, they run scared. They're afraid to even do
Don't want to
something
offend
that's
anyone,
legal.
right? Don't want
That's
to offend anyone.
completely legal. That's right. Hey, let's expand
Hmm.
school choice. They're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. They run and hide. These people, they will do
Right.
anything. They don't believe in rule of law. They don't believe in the Constitution. It's will. It's sheer political will. The
Hmm.
Constitution is the document that is meaningless and worthless to them. All they care about is power and getting it, and when they have it, wielding it and crushing you with it. And the sooner that people understand this, the
Yes.
better.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm like so fired up
I
about this.
know. Well, come on out and be fired up with us, Scarlett.
I want to.
And
I
so many
really
people are
do.
fleeing our state, and what we say over and over is, no, we are not going to be bullied out of our home. And people have got to stay here and speak up, and don't let them crush our voices. Don't let them silence us. And even my really liberal progressive friends, and we have them. Some of them I don't have anymore, but many of them I do. It's like, look at once you explain what's going on to them, they understand this is not fair. This is not right.
No, it's
This is
not.
not democracy. And like you said, and like Amanda told you, it's true. I grew up in Eastern Washington, I'm a fourth generation Washingtonian, raising a fifth, as I like to say. And truly, the majority of our state is conservative, has conservative values and beliefs. And in fact, the eastern side of our state weren't, I mean, truly, it's been at least 40 years that I can think that people have always said over there, well, it doesn't matter if I vote because King County, Seattle, rules the state anyway. And so they have stopped voting, and the voting turnouts in that part of the state, in eastern Washington, some of these areas, is so low. But if every single voter came out and voted in those areas of our state, it would overwhelm King County.
Get out
But
and
they are
vote
so
and
demoralized.
put
They're
up
so
signs.
demoralized. Yes, we
Say,
have
we
to, we've
support
got
this.
to.
We support this. Wear the shirt. Like we be vocal. Be
Yes,
out there. Just have that boldness so that they can't appear like the majority. Like all it takes is just so few to just
it
stand up
does.
and just I
Hmm.
won't be silenced. But they do that. That happens in rural areas of Wisconsin, rural areas of Illinois, rural
Yeah,
areas of Minnesota, everywhere in Virginia. I Moms for Liberty, how many times do we talk to so
yeah.
many families that say my community is mostly conservative and our state really is, like, if they're not, maybe they're not diehard conservative, but they're not crazy far left either. But they just feel, why vote? Because this Milwaukee, Madison, the big college
Hmm.
town, there's just no point. So I'm just going to eat, drink, and be merry. Um,
Yeah,
and they
or
think
just,
it's not going
or
to
I'll just
affect
move out
them.
of state and I'll move to Idaho. I'm like, you know what? Idaho's 10 years behind Washington. Just give it some time. If we don't stop this here, and you see what's going on over even there, and
There's
how
some
the
crazy stuff going on in
in
Idaho right
Idaho,
now.
right? And
We're
in
about to
everywhere
talk
else,
about that.
everywhere, the grass is not greener. We just have got to start saying enough and do it
Yes.
peacefully and kindly. I'm not going to, go and do anything rash, but I believe that we have to stand up for these kids and we have to speak out. And yes, Eastern Washington has got to start voting and voting en
Yeah.
masse. And we
Yes.
got, I mean, if they would just get a few, like even the school board directors out there, how critical that is. Just those local elections make all the difference in your county. I mean, the state is going hard for our local sheriff right now. They're trying to make it so that he's appointed rather than elected, because they did that up in King County and now they want to king our Pierce, as we like to say, right? And because they know that's the last line standing between you and them, right? So
I firmly believe that there's a lot of people that are going along with this because they believe that this is hardly ever happening. These people are just crazy. They have like Trump derangement syndrome, and there's so many things. But if you have conversations and you really talk to them and you say, really, would you want a male, biological male, competing with
mhm.
females? They're like, no, I wouldn't. Or do you think that parents should not have access to their child's health records in elementary school or middle school? Do you think that teachers and school counselors should be able to keep medical secrets from parents? And they're like, no, that doesn't sound right, right
Right.
to me.
No, it's like an 85, percent of people
Yes.
in this state, 80% would be like, yeah, no, we don't want this. And I think that's one of the reasons, the unions and everybody fought so hard to keep us from being able to collect the signatures this last year, was that they really didn't want this going to the ballot, especially in 2026 when we've got all these other, legislative seats on the ballot. And so they know that this is such a popular issue. They didn't want those on the ballot because maybe people will actually come out and vote. And so that's actually a really positive thing for us, is that it will be on the ballot. Although we would love to have a hearing at the legislature and have them pass it, or at least have it heard. So,
Have
but there
they've
is a
already
rally, like
said
I said. No, but
have they
there is
already
a rally
said
on the
they're
3rd,
not?
and I'm not going to be able to be there. Unfortunately, I'm speaking that day, and some other local groups up north. So they had already asked me to come speak on that same day that Let's Go Washington is having their rally. But I'm hopeful that many of our members from the chapters across the state will be there. And so It'll be
Yeah,
good.
and there's a lot of other grassroots organizations that you work with,
Yes.
coalitions working
Hmm.
together, grassroots coming together,
Yes.
no zero-sum games. We're all in this together.
Yes.
Let's all, and that's why I love that Let's Go Washington became like an umbrella for everyone to come together. It's not like I did this, I did this. It's we did this. And that's the way
Yes.
it has to be. We
It
all
has
have to
to be
work
that way.
together. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's what we do at Moms for Liberty, and we're really centering on that in 2026, coalition building, working together. Don't say this is my little piece of the pie and you can't, like, no,
You're
let's
taking members from my
yes.
organization. Like, no, 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 no,
No,
no.
no, you don't have, like, we'd love to have you join, but you don't have to. I'm going to work with you, even if you
Yeah.
like, because we are on the
These.
same team. And so
Mhm.
let's just do this. This isn't about like the email list. This is about actually getting things done. And
Yes.
the more that people see that, that this isn't an AstroTurf thing, we're not like trad wives, here are my
Can I roll my eyes big enough, right?
yeah, but this isn't just about like we actually do things. We want to do
Mhm.
things. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
great when we're in DC. And I loved being at the rally, but that's just part of it that I've spent 6 years, working through the grind and here now. There isn't anything that I am asking people to do that I have not done myself.
Yes.
I've done it all. I've all, and now, I have and talked to so many other people that we're trying to tell people this is what is effective. But
Hmm.
I am definitely coming to Washington. I told my husband there
Fabulous.
I gotta plan something. Looking at my calendar, I want to be there because I feel I have something to learn because what you guys are doing, I want to do here in Wisconsin
Mm.
because there's legislation that we have a Democrat governor and we've got a state Supreme Court that is far left now.
Mhm.
And so all we have the legislature, I don't know how much longer we will, but we can't get this common sense legislation passed. The governor vetoes it. And frankly, I'm not really thrilled with the way some of the leadership in my state, in the state legislature, the way they do hear the bill, they have the hearings, they pass them, but there's there's no one really knows. The hearings are like they're just when I think let's make a big deal like I want the hearing, I want the people, I want a big one, I want to plan it, I want to bring people in, like and so our legislative day
Well,
is actually February 3rd.
it's taken a while even here in Washington. And someone just said I was at a conference this last week in the Roanoke conference out in Ocean Shores on the Pacific Ocean out there. And it was interesting because somebody mentioned that, several years ago, wasn't now that many years ago, there used to be 20 people assigned from media from all around the state to be at the hearings in Olympia to report out on what was happening there. And right now, guess how many there are? 4. I mean, and those are all, talking about Seattle Times and people who are just not reporting. It's so lopsided, right? Nobody should be subscribing to the Seattle Times anymore. And it's the same type of thing as, any of these other legacy media groups that are just not getting the information out. Really, the new news here in Washington, and it's helped so much, are our local journalists, Jonathan Cho and Brandy Cruz and uh, different Caroline from the Center Square. I mean, there's some people who are really doing a fantastic job. Ari Hoffman, I can think of a few others. So it's so important that we tune into that and that is becoming the news now. And that's really helped and trying to get what's happening in Olympia out to the people because for so long people weren't turning into TVW, TV Washington or whatever it stands for. And so it's important that information we have a lot of citizen journalists and just regular people now sharing what's going on everywhere. And it's really starting to make a difference. We have several organizations that put out regular things. Go in and register your position on these bills, con or pro, and write in, testify. And I have seen since 2020 till now, just a massive increase in citizen participation in what's happening in Olympia because people are like, we're just going to do everything we can. So while you guys are out there writing or whatever you're doing, we are going to influence Olympia peacefully and do civic engagement. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's what everybody needs to do. We just need more of it. And we need to continue
it's really
this
important to
snowball
do that.
until it will change, because we have truth on our side. And this can only go on for so long. This kind
And
of nonsense can only last for so long.
And it's really good to make it easier for the regular person who cares, but just
Yes.
because to list the legislation, the number here, and then
Yep.
here the day to testify. And if you want, here's some sample testimony. You can look through that, maybe pull some of that, do your own, and here's where you can submit it. It would be
Yes.
great if you came in person. Sometimes if someone's really shy and they're not a public speaker, we'll ask, we'll assign someone else will read this for you in your stead. There's all sorts of strategies, but getting there, or just getting there, registering in person and saying, I'm affirmative for this. Here's my written testimony. And maybe I'm a little nervous about actually like speaking, but showing up, and usually people eventually find courage and they get up there and they give their testimony, and it's great. And then they want to come
It's
back.
not long. It's you're gonna just a minute. Usually they only give you a minute to a minute and a half to speak.
Yeah.
And I have to say, shout out to a gal from, I wish I need to memorize her name because I haven't. But this last week, where they were doing the testimony in the committee on one of the initiative killer bills, and she drove from Okanagan County. And I have a lot of relatives up in Okanagan. That's north central Washington. So she drove 6.5 hours over the mountain pass in winter to give a 1.5 minute testimony. And then they cut it, I think, down to just 1 minute, and then they let her finish it. I mean, talk about commitment. I was so proud of her. I mean, she could have done it by Zoom. She could have stayed home and done it by Zoom. But the truth of the matter is, to drive 6.5 hours to be able to testify in Olympia on something that was that important to her really showed everybody else up. Like, what excuse do you have if you're going to drive over the mountain pass in the snow?
Do you have it recorded? Do you guys record?
I have, it's on
testimony.
TV. It's on TVW. We can find it for sure and pull up the hearing. But it's people like that that give me hope and faith that this state is not lost, and there are still plenty of people out there willing to go the extra mile and do what you need to do. You can submit, written testimony. You can give your testimony via Zoom. But I have to tell you, I did wait last year. I remember there was a really critical bill that I wanted to testify on, and I waited 6 hours on Zoom on their committee hearing until they finally got to citizen comment. And they did call on me. And you never know, even if you go all the way down to Olympia, if they will call on you. It depends on how many people have signed up to testify. So you may or may not get called, even if if she could have driven 6.5 hours and they might not have called on her, which would have been tragic. So I'm really grateful that they did. But I waited 6 hours on Zoom. I got on, and then my Zoom call cut out halfway through my testimony. My connection dropped. And so my friend texted me. She said, "You just lost." They just said, Sarah, are you there?" And then they shut it off. So, I mean, it can be frustrating. But then because of that, I wrote my comments out and I submitted them, so they had them still. And I understand they do read them. So however you can do it. And sometimes it can be frustrating, but it's the best we have right now. And that's it, just trying and just engaging. And last year I was probably down there 10 times testifying in Olympia on several bills that pertain to our mission of parents' rights and education. And it's important. We just have to keep doing it. Even if they're going to strip it the next year or do whatever shenanigans they're going to do, like we say, they're only going to win if we quit. And that's what they're trying to get us to do, is to quit. This is a long game. This is an endurance game. And I don't quit.
Great. Well, in closing, what can you what's next? What's next? You have the 2 initiatives right now. What's coming up next? You have the rally on February 3rd. So if you are in Washington, go, but what else is coming up?
We're going to have our Moms for Liberty Washington Legislative Day on the Hill coming up. That will be also in February. So we're looking forward to that. And meeting with many of our legislators. I just met at this conference this last weekend. I had a chance to talk with several legislators. So that was really great. So those are some things. And of course, we have fairs and meetings where we're going to just be educating a lot of people on what's happening in Washington State, children's schools. I don't know if you saw, Brandy has just put out several things recently.
I
Brandy
just
Cruz.
saw something that Corey DeAngelis posted about that I wanted to talk about too, that I'm going to post about, but it looked that there was something to do with anti-ice.
Oh, I don't, that might have been. I don't know about
That's a
that as
whole
much. I
nother
mean,
thing. It's in
that's
Washington
happening
State.
in our schools too.
Yeah, they're
Yes. In
trying to
fact,
get
our
kids to walk out. They're trying to get
mhm.
teachers to walk out. It's kind of a
They
national
I think it
movement.
was last week, Seattle School District locked down like 6 schools or something because ice was alleged to be in the air. They didn't even confirm it. Somebody might have just said
Mhm.
seen something or someone and freaked out and called someone and they shut down 6 schools, including elementary schools. I mean, that to me is psychological abuse. These
Yeah.
kids, why are they That's terrorism in my
Yep.
mind against our own, I mean, trying to turn the children's hearts against their own government and
Mhm.
terrifying them against law enforcement, and then
Yes.
locking them down as though they are endangered. This has got to stop. It is not
Yep.
okay. And our state superintendent, Chris Reichdahl, again, came on and said something, about we're going to make sure these kids stay safe. And our governor, all of these nonsense about schools. And of course, ICE is not going into schools. We
Yeah.
know that. And so this is just nonsense. It's stirring up contention, is what it's doing. Stirring
Yeah.
up the hearts of the people to turn against their government, against law enforcement, and to make them feel afraid. And it's wrong in
Yes,
every sense of the
it's in the
word.
Saul Alinsky playbook. This is part of Rules for
Creating
Radicals,
chaos.
Beautiful
Yes,
Trouble, Chaos. They're agents of chaos because chaos is a ladder for them. And
hmm
whenever they you never let a crisis go to waste. And they
right,
create a crisis, they don't let it go to waste. It's so much there's so much going on. It's hard to take in all of it sometimes, but that's
right.
why this story in Washington, there is so much good like this, despite now that I've learned even more that years you've been fighting this, you get the success and they just gut it and they take it apart and they think they won, and then I mean, that's a big deal to go back and do it again, get it on the ballot again. A lot of people would just give up, but you didn't. And so many other grassroots
Mhm.
organizers and Let's Go Washington, that you went back out and you did it again, and that's to be commended for sure.
Yeah. And again, thanks to Brian Haywood, really, he spearheaded this and his team. And then we all just all of us helped to gather signatures as much as we can.
Yeah, I
So,
have to meet him.
yeah, for sure. Great
Yes.
guy.
All right. Well, Sarah, thanks for coming on and talking
Thanks for
about
taking the
this. I'm
time.
going to be putting this on in like 20 minutes. So let's go. Let's go, Washington.
That's right.
Let's
Thank
go,
you so much, Scarlett.
America. Let's go,
Yes,
America. Come on. Let's
let's
do more
go.
of this. Like, and what I love here is don't be limited by the fact that you're in a blue state. Like, because I hear that I'm in a
Yeah.
blue state, I'm in a blue
No.
state. Don't let that stop you. Don't let them win. I mean, just you can't let them win,
No.
because
It's
at
not, well, and
some
it's not even a blue state. What is that? It means that some people, yes, we have this, people in power right now, but that doesn't mean they can't change. And like you said, 3/4 of our state really are conservative. And then there's everything in between that's purple and whatever, So I don't even like to say that. I mean, it's just so
look at
landlocked that
Florida.
way,
Just
right?
look at Florida. They are
Yeah.
a constant thorn in the
Yes.
side of Governor DeSantis and the Republicans. They just had a press conference that we just posted about, and Tina had
hmm
talked about, where they said like they're all our children in Florida. Like, so they still, do you think they just said, oh well, we lost, we're just gonna go home now, we're not gonna, no, they fight, they get back out and they fight and they fight and they fight, and that tenacity.
You have to look at this as a much more consequential, like a basketball game. And you're 3 seconds, 3 seconds in a basketball game is huge. It's a lot,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
You can
Yep,
change the game.
yep.
So why would you quit when it has to do with your kids instead of just a basket?
And we've just started.
Just
They've been
really,
doing this a long, long
yes,
time, and we're
yes,
just getting started. We really are. Even 5 years is just getting started. They've been
just
doing this
barely.
for 50, 60
Decades,
years,
decades,
decades.
decades.
Decades. And you know what? 50, 60 years ago, they were in the minority. They didn't have a lot of political
Right.
power. They had to find ways, and that's what we have to do. We have to find ways to get a win and think, okay, it's a long, like you said, a marathon, but here's just one. This is just one step, and now we're going to go do the next one and the next one, and until you get there. So, well, thanks for coming on, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to see you in person again.
Yeah, that'll be great. All
All
right. We
right.
look forward to seeing you when you
Thanks.
come out to Washington. Let me know when you
I'm
want to come.
coming out. I'm coming out because there's a lot going on.
And there's a lot more that we want to do. So come on. We'll see you then.
Great conversation with Sarah. Boy, I got really fired up there. It's going to be some great reels, some really cool reels. I put some posts. I'll put some more information. Just check out Moms for Liberty for more information about what's happening. But if you look on the X account, the Moms for Liberty X account, let's pull this up real fast. So at Moms4Liberty, there's going to be some links to Let's Go Washington. So go check them out directly, and to Sarah Garriott, to Corey DeAngelis, and now finally to our friend Lindsay Beckham in Mississippi. This is a short one, a 20-minute interview about what's happening in Mississippi and how you can help. And she's actually going to be in a debate on February 5th. That's pretty big. And so School Choice Week, let's hear what's happening in Mississippi. I think it's pretty interesting. So let's go. In progress.
Yeah.
That's great. It's all good. So hi, Lindsay. Nice to see you.
Hello. Are y'all staying
Yes.
warm? Are y'all staying warm in Wisconsin?
I can barely feel my toes. My fingers are cold. My office, that's why I came down here. I'm freezing upstairs. It's our house is older, and the heat just like can't keep up with this bitter cold. How is it? You're in Mississippi, so how is it there?
We are not used to this in Mississippi at all. Nobody knows how to drive in it. So everything just closes down. We don't even attempt to get on the roads if there's the slightest bit of ice. So everybody has been stuck in the house, going a little stir crazy, but it'll melt.
How long has it been cold there?
It started Friday night, Saturday morning. So yeah, it seems like it hit the whole country.
Yeah, it did. It did. And yeah, Friday, was announced the kids were off of school Wednesday night. And they did go to school today, but they didn't go outside. And it's just really cold. Some of our pipes froze. So
no.
Yeah, but we were able to shut them off before they burst. But
that's
we
good.
have one working bathroom. And so it's interesting.
I bet. Yeah, my kids were out today, and then they have a delayed start tomorrow. So hopefully things will get back to normal after tomorrow.
Yeah, hope it just starts to warm up. So I was talking with Corey DeAngelis today, recorded our 1 hour talking about this is the start of School Choice Week. And he talked about the Trump tax credit and part of the big, beautiful bill. And so we went into all of that. And this is before we're going to have that interview. But first, he talked about what's going on in Mississippi, and I thought of you, and he specifically mentioned you. So I thought, you know what, rather than me trying to talk about what's going on in Mississippi here from Wisconsin, why don't I reach out to chapter chair and legislative chair of Mississippi, Lindsay Beckham. So here you are. And so I thought you could tell us what's going on in Mississippi as far as school choice.
Absolutely. So our Governor Tate Reeves announced last week that he has opted into Trump's tax credit that was a part of the big, beautiful bill, like you mentioned. But here in Mississippi, our Speaker Jason White, he is dedicated to education freedom. And this is his hill to die on. And so he dropped the first week of session a big, beautiful education bill. And so it's HB2. He has named it the Education Freedom Act, and it is a whopper of a bill, Scarlett. It's about 500 pages long. It includes many great things. So I'm sure you've probably heard, a lot of people have heard the term the Mississippi Miracle. And so several years back, we implemented a reading gate for third graders because we saw that our students weren't reading on grade level as they should be. And instead of just passing them through, we decided we were going to make sure that they could read on grade level before they could move out of third grade into fourth grade. And we just went back to the basics. We started teaching phonics again, and it has worked. It has really proven to be very successful here in Mississippi. We climbed from, I think, maybe 48th in education to 16th today, and just made incredible gains in education. And last session, or session before last, we rewrote our education funding formula, made it make more sense. And each child starts off at a base number, and then that can be added to, depending on what district they're in or if they're special needs.
That's really important because educating funding formulas are so complicated. I once, at a Wisconsin hearing in our state capitol, asked an actuarialist, and he said there's probably, what did he say? There's 4 people in Wisconsin that understand.
Understand it.
And you have to be an actuarialist. So that's how complicated it is.
It's that complicated. So we made that easier to understand, and we implemented that. And now our speaker, Jason White, and our governor, Tate Reeves, they are just very much on board with having full education freedom within the state. So, our opposition likes to use the term voucher. Of course, what we are advocating for are ESAs, and they have named those, since the magnolia is our state flower, they're magnolia savings accounts. And it would be implemented in over several years, depending on how much interest we see. But we get held up in the Senate. The Senate is the holdup here. But Scarlett, here in Mississippi, if you want to transfer from one public school to another public school, your home school, the one that you are zoned for, can block you from being able to move to another school, even if that school has accepted you. And we see that happening because of the money. They lose that money for that child. So therefore, they are putting these roadblocks in place, and these children are being held hostage in schools that are not meeting their needs. Our charter school program here in Mississippi, you can only have a charter school in a school district that's failing, that's graded a D or an F. Yet there are school districts that may not be failing overall as a district, but schools within them are failing. And so therefore children are trapped within these schools, and they can't do better for themselves. Their parents can't see a way to get them out of it. And, we just believe that children shouldn't be limited to how they can learn based on their zip code. We should be funding students and not systems and not bureaucrats. That should be the most important part of all of this. And the people that we see oppose, you just never hear them talking about what's best for these children.
What is their reason to be opposed? Are they mainly Democrats, or are there even Republicans that are opposed?
Even Republicans are opposed. We had this House Bill 2, the Education Freedom Act. It did pass out of our House committee, and it passed off of our House floor after a 5-hour debate, with 17 of our Republicans joining the Democrats to vote against this education freedom piece of legislation. And a lot of it, Scarlett, is our public school teachers have basically been brainwashed to believe that this will be the end of public education as we know it. There will be a mass exodus. Public schools can't survive this, even though that has not happened anywhere else that we have seen school choice legislation pass and be signed into law. They have convinced these public school teachers that is what is going to happen. And so our opposition has now become almost all of the teachers within the state.
Yes, and that means teachers' unions, and that's a lot of money. And
yes.
Are they intimidating Republican senators, putting a lot
Absolutely.
of pressure on?
Absolutely. They are getting so many phone calls from those organizations and from our public school teachers. And we have an organization here in Mississippi called the Parents Campaign. It is led by a woman named Nancy Loom, and they have even been accepting money and funds from the Southern Poverty Law Center, the ACLU. So that's who we are fighting against. I actually just accepted an
SGLC.
opportunity, right? I actually just accepted an opportunity to debate Nancy Loom myself in Oxford, Mississippi, February 5th. So that should be very interesting.
Wow. February 5th, mark calendars. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. That's a
Yes.
big deal.
It is, because we've never seen her go head to head with someone one-on-one like this. And so it'll be fun to call her out on her mistruths, her misinformation
I'm
that she
putting it
likes
in my
to spread.
calendar right now.
But as you know,
That's
we
a big
stand for
deal.
truth, and I'm going to share truth.
I'm putting it in my calendar right now. We're going to have to.
Awesome.
That's a big deal. Like, to go, the last time I had to do a debate was when I was running for school board, and I was so nervous. It's even though you may know the facts, it's nerve-wracking, but I'm glad you're doing it, because I'm glad that they have accepted and they're going to do it as
Mhm.
well. It's great.
Yeah.
If they believe in what they believe, then they should be willing to defend it. So
Absolutely. And I feel like the people need to hear it. The people need to hear more than just this one side that tells you the sky's falling, when that's just not the truth. That's just not the case.
yeah, they scare. They say, "Oh, we're not going to have any funding, and then your kids are not going to have the special education. They're not going to get the things that they need." And
Mhm.
I think that when all you're just giving the opportunity to have some choice, there aren't even enough private schools to where everyone could mass exodus. I think what
Right.
happens what really happens with the data is that the schools surrounding, they get better and they're more challenged, and
Because the free market works, Scarlett.
yeah.
The free market works.
Yeah. And I know, and I have heard of the Mississippi Miracle, because we have, in my home state, we've tried to implement some strategies, because we veered away from phonetic learning, phonetic reading, and got caught up in the whole language. And we've had an abysmal, terrible drop in reading proficiency in my state. We are, I think, are last. We are like dead last with when it comes to Hispanic and Black children, in predominantly in areas that are predominantly we're less fortunate. So in the cities, these kids are absolute bottom as far as reading proficiency, yet their schools get the most funding in the
Mhm.
state. And
Exactly.
it's absolutely abhorrent, especially as a child who grew up in these schools. And my parents did, and my sister and my brothers, and we escaped those schools when I was in middle school, through a Catholic charity. And had I not had that way out before school choice, if I had not, my parents had not been eligible for this charity program so that we could go to a Catholic school, I wouldn't be here today. I would have been languishing in the worst, most crime-ridden, terrible schools in Milwaukee. And it's just not, if it's just not fair, it's not right, and
Mm-mm.
parents deserve a way out for their kids.
Absolutely. And the big difference between a voucher and an ESA is that a voucher is just the government sending that money for that child to another school. An ESA is actually giving the parents control of the money and spending that money where they feel their child most needs it in order for them to get the most successful education possible. And shout out to the Catholic charities and the Catholic, I'm not Catholic, diocese.
Yes.
However you say it, but they have been huge supporters.
So are Lutheran. So have Lutheran. There are a lot of Lutheran schools are huge into the choice programs, and
Our Pentecostal churches and our Catholic churches, they're very involved in wanting to get this legislation through. So shout out to them for having a place and using their voices to stand up for what's right for these children.
ESAs are by far the preferable way to go because that optimizes parents' choice. And I know a lot of our fellow sisters and moms for liberty, that's one big concern. They don't want more money, like they don't want to trade one problem for another one.
Right.
But this gives parents the power. They have that money, and then they get to use it and find the school that fits them. So I like that. I like more choice for parents, and just like I like health savings account, I like education savings accounts. So
But we have a lot of momentum here in Mississippi, Scarlett. We had Tim Tebow here last week who spoke at an event that Empower Mississippi put together and talked about why he believes that you need choice for children to put them in the best scenario possible for each individual child and their individual needs. And he talked about, when he was diagnosed with dyslexia and what that meant for him. And so I say I don't fangirl very often, but I was a little fangirling when Tim Tebow walked in the room.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. So how do things stand right now? How can, especially if you're in Mississippi, what should you do? How should you, I can say, I think you should be calling and emailing and showing up at the Capitol and talking to your senators, especially if they are Republican, but not limited to that. Talk to your Democrat senators as well. Who knows? You might be able to convince.
Absolutely. Yes, the lieutenant governor who's over our Senate here in Mississippi, and then those senators, especially those on the education committee, they're the ones who need to hear from all Mississippians, especially their constituents, and let them know that we feel parents should be in the driver's seat and the parents should have the power. And President Trump has said this is the civil rights issue of our day, and I believe that it truly is the civil rights issue of our time.
And so how can people follow you? Because I'm sure if they were follow you on your Facebook, your X account, you have a podcast that they can get all the information that they need. I'll also post it underneath our social media when we air this. But how can people learn more about you, what you're doing, and what's going on in Mississippi?
Well, you can definitely follow my personal Facebook, which is just Lindsay Beckham, and my X account, which is Lindsay Beckham. I have a radio show Monday through Friday from 12 to 1. It's called the Lindsay Beckham Show. And so there's a Facebook page for that where it streams live every day. And of course, this is a huge topic on my show every day right now as we have entered our legislative session and things have kicked off with a bang. So I talk about that pretty much every day where we stand because it seems to be changing by the day. But hopefully our Senate will come around and get on board. And if we don't get everything in this big, beautiful Education Freedom Bill Act, that we at least get some parts of it.
Yeah. Like aim high. You reach for the stars. You may not wind up with them, but you won't end up with a handful of dirt either.
Right.
So you'll get something. But I do believe the power of the grassroots.
Yes.
Mississippi's a red state. And there should be, just put that pressure and let your senators know and your leaders your education committee that you care about this because they have their AstroTurf. They're using teachers unions are calling from out of state. They have apps. They have special apps. I'm going to reveal more about this in the upcoming month because I've been sitting through red, wine, and blue Zoom meetings and other.
I got on one of them and I couldn't handle it. I had to get off. I couldn't handle it, Scarlett.
I was definitely drinking wine during that.
I was going to say, you probably
I needed
had
something to get me through it because it's like your head's going to explode, but I've started up like I like to I listen to what they're saying. I take notes and take a few shots just to go to their links. And they have email campaigns where they send out 10 emails at once. They're
organized. They're organized.
And it's one person. They could do 5 calls, and that one call goes out to 10. And so it amplifies. They've got a lot of people, a lot of guys living in their mom's basement. They like to do this stuff. So real world, put your name, your address. I'm a real voter. I'm a real person. I live here and I care about this issue, and let them know, because if we don't exert in a joyful warrior way. Of course, be respectful. That goes a long way. Be respectful and be joyful, be happy, but you be firm, and it'll go a long way. And show them that you got their back if they go through with this, that they won't just get the heat of the left, that they'll have your support and you'll show up and you'll
Right. We'll fight for them.
Mhm.
We'll take up for them. Definitely have their back if they vote the right way. That's for sure.
All right. Well, Lindsay, we have to do this again because,
Yes.
yeah, now that I'm starting to do do these live streams and talk shows, it's fun. So I love, and right now I'm in my kitchen about ready to start dinner. So I'm glad that you could come on. I know
Yeah.
you have 5 kids, right?
I have 5. Yes. I told them you have to be quiet for at least 15 minutes.
Oh, my one's at basketball, one is just walking around, and then the other is at tutoring. So the other 2 are at the house, but so it's nice and quiet for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
doesn't happen often, but look, when
Mm-mm.
it is nice and quiet, I will miss the chaos.
Oh yes,
For sure.
I enjoy it for a little bit, and then I'm like, this is way too quiet. So,
Yes,
all right. Well, Lindsay, thanks for coming on, and
absolutely.
look forward to talking to you more. And if you're in Mississippi, follow Lindsay. Even if you're not, follow Lindsay. She has good stuff. But if you're in Mississippi, hey, you got something to fight for here. This is real, tangible progress. And very few states are lucky enough to have this kind of opportunity. Take it from me. I'm from Wisconsin, so take advantage of it. Don't think that someone else is going to do the job for you. You've got to
That's right.
advocate. So, all
Absolutely.
right.
Well, and we'll have Corey actually will be here in Mississippi at an event we're both speaking at on February 10th. So maybe we'll find a way to live stream
Oh,
that. And
yes. Oh, that would be awesome. That would be great. That would be great.
yeah,
Well, he
I'll
had
get
good
with
things to
you.
say about you. He had really good things to
Oh,
say about you. So,
well, we love Corey. We love Corey. He's
yeah,
a big
he's great.
fighter.
He is. All right. Well, bye, Lindsay. Thanks for coming
Bye.
on.
Thanks. Thanks, Scarlett.
Bye.
Bye.
I always forget to unmute. Okay. That was a great conversation with Lindsay, and she's so cheerful and bright, and a she has a radio show that airs every day, like she said. And if you go to, and I posted in the comments under our X account at Moms for Liberty, that's the same YouTube, Facebook. This is not airing, this is going to I'm going to air this live on Facebook right after we're done separately. But we've been getting tremendous amounts of views. Our YouTube is like, finally, like some of the stuff's hitting. So it's great. And what I loved is we had this great conversation with Corey DeAngelis, who goes all around the country and talks about school choice. And he has a tremendous social media presence, and he's on shows, and he helps parents, and he provides data, all of that good stuff. And I love having him on, and he's so knowledgeable. And then I love that all that was augmented by having some grassroots activists, some ladies that are in the trenches in their states, and giving some good real world advice and talking about challenges and victories. So I hope that this was entertaining and helpful to you and something that you will share. So please follow us on X. I know Elon Musk just revealed their algorithm, and basically, like, it's a challenge, it's a struggle sometimes to get out of your algorithm, and but all it takes, just repost. If you like it, repost it, share it. Share it to your chat group. I know I'm in about 20 of them, and I'm like sharing, like, hey, listen to this, or hey, mom, listen to your daughter's podcast, why don't you? So please show us some love. Follow us on YouTube. I don't do this often, but I probably should do it more. Let's see. Let's put up. So our YouTube at number 4 Liberty. Guess what? That is for all of our social media. So, except for we have a TikTok account that every once in a while we remember to post something to, but we should do more there because apparently that's where all the young women are like losing their minds. So we'll try to. We're really trying to reach out more to moms, to regular people, and we're going to be making a huge effort wrapping our minds around how to talk to younger women, younger moms, and just trying to rid of this woke mind virus one mom at a time. And of course, you can join Moms for Liberty at moms4 liberty.org. So when going to the website, it's momsforliberty.org. When going to social media, it's at moms4 liberty. So not super difficult. So make sure follow us on X, follow us on Facebook, like and subscribe on YouTube. We're having like some success there, which is really nice, moving the needle a little bit. Trying to figure it out. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but at least I'm admitting it. Like just trying to figure out how to get the message out that we have content that's good, it's original, and you're talking to real people. They're just like most of our guests are just the real people. Tomorrow I have a line of interviews that I'm going to do, and with local attorney, constitutional attorney, Aaron Lee from Colorado. I'm going to talk to Ryan Walters. Always have some great interviews with him. I know I'm forgetting. There's a whole bunch. So, and a lot more coming up. So these are great and I hope informative and I hope helpful. So thanks for tuning in, and we're going to be bringing on a lot more of our friends, our Moms for Liberty, and other organizations, as we always do, the boots on the ground, the people that make things happen, and my very good friends. And a special treat, I get to talk with my friend Meg Brock tomorrow, and she's going to talk about some great news, and we're going to talk about her most recent article. She's amazing, amazing mom, and all of the people that I think are wise and who help me to see things and understand things, and I'm trying to bring them out to all of you because I think it's helpful, and I hope you feel like you're part of the conversation. You're not just listening or watching a conversation. So have a great evening. Thank you all for tuning in, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Oh, I should mention, live tomorrow, we are going to have two live things here on X only. We are going to air President Trump's speech in Iowa. He is going to be live in Iowa. And I'm not sure what time that is. I probably have the press information in my email, so I'll post that. And our big event that is going to be live on all of our social media starting at 7:00 Central is the Iowa governor's debate with our CEO and co-founder Tina Deskovich. She will be there live and working with some of our friends at the Blaze. I believe Steve Dace will be there as well, and it's going to be a great event. And our tremendous, huge shout out to Jen Turner and all of those ladies that are in the Moms for Liberty Iowa, they are fierce and they are sweet. They are Midwest nice, but don't mess with them. They're very fierce ladies, and they do great work. So I'm very excited. They are working so hard on this debate. And my partner in social media, Jen Turner, who's a big sweetie, she's so sweet, great mom, and she is she's doing such a great job helping me manage, my partner working to manage social media, and it's a big, huge task for us. But she's been working super hard on this debate, and so I'm really excited. And it's cold there, but it's cold here too. But everything's going fine, and it seems like everything should be, knock on wood, everything should be running smooth. So tune in. You don't have to just be from Iowa to find this interesting, because I think if you have, I know Wisconsin, there's a lot of states that have governor's races, and gives you some insight into the mechanisms, what's going on. Like, there are all of these good candidates. They all are vying for governor of Iowa. And if you live in Iowa, this is great. You really should be tuning in, because it will give you a lot of insight. And it'll be different. And it's a great platform for you to learn about candidates and decide who do you think would best represent Iowa, now that the amazing and wonderful Kim Reynolds has she's retiring. There's some big shoes to fill. She did such a great job in Iowa, and it's one of the places I may have to move if Wisconsin doesn't go the right way. So let's go Iowa. Let's keep it red. Let's keep it real red, bright red. Let's keep it Florida red. There's some governors that they know what time it is, man. When they have power, they wield it, and they don't wield it in the way that is happening in Washington state. They wield it for good, and they play for keeps, just like the left. And that's why you got to play. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, tomorrow, 7:00 Central Time, here and all Moms for Liberty social media, we will be airing the Iowa governor's debate with Tina Deskovich, and there'll be a lot of our Moms for Liberty Iowans will be there, but as will lots of other conservative groups. And then also will be Trump's speech. He is in Iowa, and I was going to go there. I was going to be there, but this weather is not so great for traveling. So I will be live streaming it, wishing I was there. But there'll be more. There'll be more, and there won't be. It'll be when the pipes in my house aren't frozen. So not a good time to leave my house right now. So, but stay warm, stay off the roads stay with your families. Get in front of a fire or a space heater, but turn them off and be careful. And have some hot chocolate and just enjoy your family. So God bless. Good night. See you again real soon.